Bama football fans, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. If you are watching this or listening to it via podcast, I will be live today at 9 a.m. Today is Monday, August 19th. Going to talk about some news and notes from Sunday, and then, of course, we'll rehash them on my live show. I'll take some live calls as well. Let's talk about the injury to Jaeden Roberts, Alabama's right guard, who was injured Saturday during Alabama's second scrimmage. Now, following the scrimmage, Coach Kalen DeBoer said that he will be ready to go by Western Kentucky. Remember, that game's on August 31st. Okay, that's in 2 weekends. Now, his mother provided an update on Sunday morning, and she said that he actually had surgery. Now, that kind of made everybody's ears perk up. People were like, surgery? We didn't see that or didn't hear that. So, anytime you hear surgery, but what could it be? Could it be his hand? Well, she did say it was his hand, but is it a finger? We don't really know exactly what happened, but, according to Coach Kalen DeBoer, he will be able to play. A couple things to keep in mind when talking about Jaeden Roberts. Number one, it's not like you or I broke our hand or finger or whatever. These guys have access to Jeff Allen, an incredible athletic trainer who gets these guys up to speed faster than the normal human being, okay? An example of that, last year, Deontay Lawson, Alabama inside linebacker, he suffered a high ankle sprain. I don't even know if he missed 10 days and he was like back 100%. Now, if you've had a high ankle sprain, that could be a very significant injury. So they have modern medicine that you wouldn't even think of. And I think that's probably why Coach Kalen DeBoer, after probably speaking to Jeff Allen, said, hey, we can get him ready to go on August 31st. Now, we'll talk about this more on my live show, and I'll actually have a graphic which displays what I'm talking about. But right now, if Alabama was to have a game, let's say this coming weekend, and this is we have Florida State versus Georgia Tech actually in Dublin, Ireland this coming weekend. But let's say Alabama was playing and Jaeden Roberts couldn't go. Well, who would step up in his place? You would have Geno Vandermark. Now, Geno Vandermark was the guy who did step into his place during Saturday's scrimmage, and I think this was a great addition from the transfer portal. He was at Michigan State where he played center and guard. And he can bring that versatility here to the University of Alabama. He's the third team center right now behind Rock Montgomery, and he's the second team guard after Jaeden Roberts. And I think that, if he had to step in, I think he'd do a fine job. So Geno Vandermark would be the guy to step in. But again, Coach Kalen DeBoer said that he would be ready to go for the game against Western Kentucky. Also in the news on Sunday was another player named Jaeden, but at the high school level out of Rome, Georgia. Jaeden Harmon flipped from Alabama to Tennessee. He's a class of 2025 inside linebacker. He's a 4-star. Tennessee fans celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. This guy is an absolute player, 100%. These flips, it's unbelievable the amount of flips. You're not really committed anywhere until you sign this paperwork. We're only in, not even in September yet. And, I kind of look to the players that have flipped from Alabama, maybe to Auburn or to Tennessee. And of course, it's going to be a win for these other programs. These are good players, 100%. But I think from the player standpoint, I think they need to wait and just see how good these teams are going to be, because it doesn't take long for those schools to lose momentum if they've lost an early season game, right? Hey, that's not really the school I want to go to anymore. Negative headlines, they're not winning games, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Alabama, on the flip side, has an opportunity to beat the preseason number 1 at home. And you think of the momentum that Alabama will have if they're able to be 3-0, host Georgia, and be able to take care of business against the Bulldogs, right? On that September 28th or whatever it is. By the way, Georgia is a 4.5-point favorite in that game. Also, and again, I'll be live here at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you're catching this super early, I appreciate you guys being here. Please hit the thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. And appreciate you guys supporting the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Also in the news is you have A.K. Deer, who's the number 1 running back out of the state of Mississippi, is set to announce on the 20th of August. He's been at Alabama lean for a good bit. Basically, he was committed to Ole Miss, decommitted from Ole Miss, came to the Alabama recruiting barbecue, and the big time recruiting analysts have been saying that he's a Bama lean. I think he's going to commit to Alabama. What do you think? Sound off inside the comment box. In fact, type in A if you think that A.K. Deer is going to commit to the Alabama Crimson Tide. So that's what we're watching on the 20th. So a piece of team news and some recruiting news, if you will, right here on Bama Football on YouTube. What I'm going to do now is play Coach Kalen DeBoer's press conference following Alabama's scrimmage. I'm going to pause it each time that he discusses an item that was asked to him, and I'm going to provide my thoughts as well. So let's get on with Coach Kalen DeBoer's press conference following Alabama's second scrimmage.
Scrimmage number 2 weeks from today, we're on the field, game day. So days are counting down, and another really productive scrimmage. Different situations from what we probably got into just naturally, not even scripted or being intentional. Just a little bit more red zone inside the 10 work that happened at the end. Really, again, good give and take. I think the defense continues to. They did a good job against the run early. Offense hit a couple explosives. Just trying to give you an overall summary. I think a couple takeaways by the defense, but did a great job of having to make it happen. Tip ball, diving player, great play. So love that from the defensive side. That when those plays were to be made, they made them. I think offensively. On the just flip it, some pass catches by the receivers, which were extremely competitive with great defense, and coming down with those balls was good to see, and the positioning by the defense was also good to see. So very physical. I thought it was a very physical scrimmage. Probably not even probably. It is definitely the most physical scrimmage we've had since we've been here, out of the 4 or 5 counting the spring game, and so. Got through relatively healthy. Some things this week with a couple guys that will hold them probably out for a few practices, but by the end of the week, we should, for the most part, be having the guys that we need to be out there practicing, getting ready for, week 1 against Western Kentucky. So getting some of the guys back that maybe were dinged up over the last week or two, slowly but surely. Kept a couple guys out just if they had to play, they could have. Guy like Jam Miller, I know you guys are well aware, just dinged up a week ago. And so just could have gone today if he needed to, just not getting too crazy and being smart. So we're getting healthier, I think, even though we got a few guys dinged up today.
That's Coach Kalen DeBoer, his opening press conference. A couple takeaways from those opening remarks. I think when he's talking about the defense, from what I gathered, the defense played much better in this scrimmage. King Mack had an interception, which was off Dylan Lonergan. That was pretty much a pick 6. Heard that Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson, those guys were wrecking havoc, to be quite honest, and providing a lot of pressure on Jalen Milroe. Regarding on the flip side, the offensive side, look, these guys are explosive players, 1,000,000%. You got a guy like Emmanuel Henderson laying out, making the catch. You saw the highlights on University of Alabama's, social feeds, and the throw was, from what I understand, from Ty Simpson. Ryan Williams made another really good play early in the scrimmage. I think the reception was for 40 yards. So I was thinking about this. So the good news from Ryan Williams is he's clocked close to 100 yards in 2 games. He's 17 years old. But if I'm looking at it from, kind of playing devil's advocate, looking at Alabama's defense in their secondary, I'm like, wow, there's been a lot of explosive plays. And I know the wide receiver competition is really good this year, but I'm looking at Alabama's corners, and just hear me out. Okay. If I'm playing devil's advocate, looking at Alabama's defense, you got Damani Jackson. And I think the ceiling is high on him, but he didn't over excel at USC. I think he's going to play his best football, is what I'm trying to say, here at Alabama, and I think get better coaching from Mo Lindquist. Now, on the other side, no one's been able to beat out Zabien Brown, and the guy has a club on his hand. He's a freshman, right? Now, granted, he's been here since the spring. He's got some plus he's a baller, right? Deshaun Jones, I figured he might be able to win that spot coming from Wake Forest. And I think there's still competition. I mean, the game isn't till August 31st, right? And then you have Jalen Mbakwe, who's probably next off. He didn't even play corner at the high school level, right? I mean, he played safety. So I think when you look to Alabama's corners, and we knew that was going to be a position that was going to be tested early on. They will, but the guys are absolutely playmakers. So good to see that the defense did play much better in the second scrimmage. Now, regarding Coach Kalen DeBoer, if you hear him saying it was the most physical scrimmage that they've ever had since he's been here, yeah, I heard that the pads were absolutely popping, 100%. And I heard there was actually a dust-up. I said that on my Nuggets report. Dust-up is a fight. It was a straight-up fight, okay? And guys got into it. I won't name the players that were fighting. This is a good sign. This is a sign that the team has alphas on the team, which is no surprise. And these guys are tired of hitting guys with, crimson jerseys on or white jerseys on. They're ready to play. They're ready to play another team. They're tired of the noise and everybody saying that Nick Saban's gone, they can't win a national championship, blah, blah, blah. So when teams start fighting, like in the past, you hear them fighting, you hear other people around the program saying, we're going to make a run at the Natty. That's basically what it means. So, and this is not uncommon. You go across the world of college football, it happens. If you played competitive sports, guys get after it, and I think that's what Coach Kalen DeBoer was saying, along with it just being physical, hard-hitting. I mean, he mentioned some guys that are banged up. I mean, you didn't really see Jam Miller. You did see Richard Young, and he scored a 10-yard touchdown running with the ones. He's capable. We've talked about him from that running back room, and, eager to see those running backs shine. Before I move on to my next topic, I don't know if you guys saw this. Justice Haynes and Ty Simpson and Graham Rotten were actually, he's an offensive lineman, Gabe Rotten, actually recognized for a Christian Leadership Award. You see this on Sunday night? So pretty cool. And we'll talk about it more live on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. If you could take a minute and just hit the thumbs up on this podcast, I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm actually going to play it Sunday night and then, do my live show on Monday. So thanks for being here. All right, we continue with Coach Kalen DeBoer's press conference from following the scrimmage.
Do you have an update on Jaeden Roberts? And then also just what did you see from the offensive line today?
Jaeden will be able to play week one. So he'll be able to play week one. It won't be anything where he'll be out for a game or anything.
And then the update on that, just how did the offensive line look today?
Just with I think, again, I thought it was probably the best give and take as far as pressure, but also just really being able to, kind of dig in and give a pocket for the quarterbacks. When we needed some time, they did it. But there was also some times, much like last week, where the defense, got to the quarterback and finished drives off. And a lot of times those are in your third down situations, third down, back to the wall, got home. And so I thought, with running backs, Jam in particular, not really doing anything out there. Rotation with some of those guys. I thought we were solid. I do think our defensive line is doing a really good job against the run.
That's Coach Kalen DeBoer talking about the offensive line as well as the defense. And I think considering that, Jaeden Roberts, was subbed out, it gives the opportunity for you to look at the offensive line with a guy stepping up from the number twos. And just like I said in the opening, I heard that Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson were getting after the quarterback. So maybe that was coming on blitzes on third down. It also comes back to the running backs. How are the running backs faring in pass protection? That's something that we really haven't seen from Justice Haynes. And with Jam Miller out, gives an opportunity to, for coach to be able to see how those running backs are, picking up pass coverage, pass blocking responsibilities. And then he also said right there about the defensive line. Look, Coach Kane Womack's really high on LT Overton. We've heard really good things about Jamarian Latham. Keon Keeley is a guy that we expect to be a riser this year. So I think kind of re-listening to that comment about the defensive line specifically against the run, because honestly, I've been looking for nuggets on how the running backs have been doing. Look, I mean, Justice Haynes had a really nice run in the first scrimmage, but overall, I haven't heard really about big plays from Justice Haynes or Jam Miller, which I think is a great sign for the defensive front in terms of stopping the run. All right, we continue with Coach Kalen DeBoer's press conference.
Over on the right with Charlie.
Yeah, hey, Coach, just what did you see from the corners today, and how's that group as a whole kind of come together over the course of the preseason?
Yeah, I thought they were really on top of receivers all day long. They understand their responsibilities in the right position. I'm sure there's a couple clips we can find. I mean, that's always going to be the case where, they could have been better, but really nothing as far as like busted assignments. I think they continue to get better each and every day. They're practicing out there and they really want to do it. There's a high level of want to, and they know a lot of eyes are on them. And so I'm really proud of the way they continue to bring it each and every day. Some physicality out there. I thought they had times when they needed to tackle and they got guys to the ground. Again, laid some hits on some guys running routes, both receivers, tight ends. So a lot of good things from that group. They continue to grow. They continue to improve each and every day and each and every week.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the areas that we're all curious about is that secondary. Just as I said in the opener, if you're playing devil's advocate against Alabama's corners specifically, those guys have a lot to prove. Just because, none of them have played a game in an Alabama Crimson Tide uniform. Think about that. The only returning starter in the secondary that played downs last year was Malachi Moore. Okay, that's fact. All the other guys, can they play? 1,000,000%. Have they played? No. I did hear that Cole Adams got absolutely lit up. I don't know who hit him. Maybe it was on one of those mesh routes or something like that, which would lead me to believe it was somebody like from the linebackers, but maybe it was somebody else. I have no idea. All I know is that he got absolutely crushed. And you know what? I really haven't heard anything about Keon Sabb in these two scrimmages. Doesn't mean that he's underperforming. Just haven't heard much on him. Did hear that Malachi Moore, as you know, had an interception in that first scrimmage, and I think he's going to make a lot of plays this year for Alabama. We continue with Coach Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, that right tackle battle. What do you see out of those guys today?
Yeah, it certainly is. Just going to be a position, I think, that until we really get to some game time reps, I don't know if we'll have it completely ironed out just based on how it's gone so far. And so, both guys have their strengths and things they do really well. And, those come out and, it's not like I feel like either of them are a liability. I think it's just a matter of figuring out which one is going to be our guy. And they both have done a lot to earn a lot of reps, So maybe we'll take that back a week from now if something else continues to evolve where one guy really steps up. But that seems to be the direction it's headed right now.
That's Coach Kalen DeBoer talking about that right tackle position. I think when you look to position battles, clearly that's one of them. But I think, at least in my percentage, I'm not Coach Kalen DeBoer. Clearly, I'm not on the staff. But from what I gather, it looks like Wilcom Formby, it seems like he's a 70%, 80% starter. I love the story of Wilcom Formby, being that he's a, hometown hero, so to speak. I saw him not too long ago with Caden Proctor. The guys are absolutely towers. Elijah Pritchett can certainly provide depth, whether that's at left tackle or right tackle. I mean, before Caden Proctor earned back his starting spot at left tackle, he was the starter at left tackle. So you start to look at those twos, that means depth. And this season, more than any season that we've ever seen in college football, you're going to have to rely on quality depth. That's why I think teams like Alabama, teams who have an incredible amount of depth, are going to be the ones that are left standing in the end. We continue with Coach Kalen DeBoer.
Coach, who's starting to catch your eye in the kickoff return, punt return aspect out there?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different ways you look at it, right? You go with the veterans, being around Jeremy Bernard, as a returner, he's done them both. You're comfortable with him catching the ball. You're comfortable with him making good decisions, especially when the ball's on a punt and the punt coverage team is flying down the field. He's going to make those good decisions. But I really think, we're also trying to bring some young guys. And young guys might be guys that are able to help us this year and maybe be the guys out there even week one. But really is what we want to do is always be developing players for the end of the season. Those moments, hopefully that you have a few games where, you don't want to send your number one guy out there and you have enough trust in your number two, got a lead or something like that. And then also a year from now, 2 years from now, you just want to have guys that have caught so many balls back there that it's just, you don't even flinch to think about putting them in the game. So, we got Mbakwe back there as a young guy, one of those guys I guess I would refer to. He's been really consistent. Ryan can do some things. We trust him catching the ball. A K-Law could be back there with the explosives he has, especially I think maybe in a kick return, but also in a punt return. There's a few others too that we continue to work through. We try to keep it a bigger pool than we do really trying to narrow it down. So.
I love that update right there. When you talk about kick return and punt return, that's not one of the opportunities that the media gets to see during the open period. So kick returner could be Jeremy Bernard, who did it at Washington. Could be a guy like K-Law. I want a guy back there that is fast, one of the fastest on the team, that has acceleration, agility. Punt returner, Jalen Mbakwe could be one of those guys. Ryan Williams, of course, with the playmaking ability that he has. Kendrick Law, as Coach mentioned. One player that Coach said that didn't mention was Cole Adams. He changed his number to 7. He has a lot of kind of that shift ability, and he could be one of those guys. I think probably I'm surprised he didn't say it. Maybe he's just holding his card to his vest, but I think he's probably one of the ones at the punt returner. I'm talking about Cole Adams. And then overall special teams, I think he's going to talk about Graham Nicholson here upcoming, who had a really good scrimmage. He is that guy, right? He won the Lou Groza Award. But special teams overall, I mean, if you're grading out these units, I think the special teams is A+. I think that's one of Alabama's strongest units. And so many times on the shows you watch or the sites you read, you don't read a lot about special teams. And it's crazy that those guys don't get the notoriety. You know how stressed out we'd be without Will Reichard, right? We don't want to come in this season without Will Reichard. And to be able to replace him with Graham Nicholson, absolutely mind-bending. That's why I feel he's the biggest transfer addition. He'll lead the team. Think about this. He'll lead the team in scoring this year. All right, we continue.
Right, Chase.
Just staying with special teams, how much work were you able to get in today on special teams, and how'd the kickers and punters look?
Yeah, first of all, Burnip, he's had an amazing camp. This spring, the first couple of days, I'll be flat out honest, the first couple of days of spring ball, I thought, man, he got a lot of potential, can be a little more consistent. You saw it at the end of spring ball, that consistency happened, and then he has been nothing but just phenomenal all camp from day one. So I was interested to see how he'd come through the summer, and if he was ready to go. He was definitely ready to go, and he just continues to not just kick it, with great hang time and have distance, but those specialty areas where you're trying to pin people down inside the 10. He's been really, really consistent that way too. Long snapper, got a veteran there with Nealand. Feel really good about him. And then it's been really good for our kickers to get in the stadium since in the last week for sure, but in the last week and a half, they've come over and taken a lot more reps. Just the kind of visualization and understanding, depth perception. I know you should, for all of us, right, you should be able to line up, and if it's a 25 or 35-yard field goal, it's just go out there and kick it. But I think there's a lot of visual things and understanding the inside of the stadium. They continue to do that. On the practice field, it's been super consistent. So it's just a matter of translating that over here. And I thought this week was a step up. Not just today, but in the other days when they've been coming over here and doing their thing as well, whether it's with the team or on their own.
The thing about James Burnip, the punter for Alabama, I think he's probably one of the better punters in the country, top 5, I would say. And like Coach Kalen DeBoer said, his trajectory just keeps going up, higher and higher and higher. He'd probably be what's the punter of the year award? Who wins that award? Could be him. And then your long snapper, that's Nealon Hibbett, right? You ever been to Hibbett Sports? I think he's a legacy of Hibbett Sports, so that's pretty cool. A guy that's certainly experienced. You want a long snapper who's experienced. Remember how stressed out we were last year with a guy who couldn't snap the football. By the way, haven't heard too many issues about that with Parker Brailsford. Second team center, it looks like it's going to be Rock Montgomery, and then third team, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Gino Vandermark. He didn't mention Graham Nicholson. Maybe he will here in the back end, but we continue with Coach Kalen DeBoer.
Last one up front for Jack.
I'm just curious, kind of going back to the corner room. What have you kind of seen from Zabien Brown, kind of being, emerging as pushing some of those veterans like Deshaun Jones and Jackson, some of those other guys?
Yeah, I think Zabien's been someone we've talked about a lot. Going back even to the spring, his consistency. He's obviously still young and learning every single day. Working through his injury early on, but I guess I'm super proud of how he's done that. I think there might be some guys that would have taken themselves from, maybe not from practice, but from certain drills or certain reps. He has certainly shown a toughness about him by going out there and competing and really not missing anything, as far as what we have, approved him to do, from a doctor standpoint. So, he got a great head on his shoulders. He's played high-level high school ball, and I think that's helped him translate to being able to emerge and come through, here. Deshaun, has more snaps under his belt, and a lot of those things show up at times too for him, and it's a huge positive. And so that group, I think, again, there's depth that's continuing to be created. Numbers wise, it's one of our smaller groups. We don't have as many as we normally would have on a regular year, but each of them understand that that's on them, and they're bringing it every single day. And Coach Lindquist, I think, has done a tremendous job, trying to balance that confidence that they need to have with just continuing to stay on top of them, push them, hold them accountable to a higher standard, higher level every single day.
That was Coach Kalen DeBoer talking about the corners one more time, and specifically about Zabien Brown. I think it's been amazing. The guy, has a club on his hand, and he's still been repping with the ones. I mean, and Coach Kalen DeBoer said they've been following, doctors' guidelines, and the guy's still out there killing it. What's amazing to me is when people reverse recruit against Alabama, they're saying that freshmen don't play, freshmen can't get on the field. Go ahead and inside the comment box and list how many freshmen that you think will play this season, will start. Looks like Ryan Williams is going to start at wide receiver at 17 years old. Looks like Zabien Brown is going to start. Looks like Jalen Mbakwe is going to get a lot of playing time, right? We can name a handful of guys that are absolutely going to play this year that are true freshmen. I love it. And I think that's going to continue to be a selling point for the Alabama Crimson Tide when you continue to recruit, right, under Coach Kalen DeBoer. Coming up on Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time, we'll dive more into the big topics, including the injury news on Jaeden Roberts, put in a prediction for A.K. Deer. Surprise, surprise, it's going to be Alabama for me. And we'll talk about more news as Alabama enters another week as we take one more step closer to the first week of the college football season. My name is Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. Please take a minute, hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe, and I'll be coming to you live at 9 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, right here on Bama Football on YouTube. See you guys.